Hi there, and welcome back to this episode of the podcast. This morning, I am delighted to be joined by the lovely Giada Labrecque. And Giada is a massage therapist and the SEO, the CEO, and all that of Office Needs. And I met Giada because we both work in the holistic side of work. And I've had the pleasure of having a massage from Giada. So, Giada, first of all, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you on a very different, I suppose. Well, I suppose the book has come out of because you're here to talk about your book, and that's
hmm
what I'd love to talk to you about. Your book is called Self-Care Solutions at Work, and I know that Office Needs. It was you used to go into, or you probably, and you will again in the future. You go into companies and you do massage work. Can you tell us a little bit about that and your journey from all of that into what you're offering now through your book?
Absolutely. Yeah. So Office Needs is a on-site chair massage service, but it's actually so much more than chair massage. That's how it started. Was doing, 10, 15, 20-minute sessions at the office. But now we also offer guided meditation. We offer workplace coaching, all kinds of things. I think we have upwards of 8 services that we're offering now. And so we're really like a one-stop shop for corporate wellness, and it's really coming together really nicely. I have a really solid team of beautiful individuals who are just like really positive and really actually care about people. And through my own practice of doing chair massage, what I like to do is educate and empower my clients on how to take care of themselves. Because I've been working with office workers, office people for the last 5 years, and I've seen the same kind of patterns over and over again of carpal tunnel and tension headaches and neck strain. And so I always teach people the same few stretches to take care of themselves, for the front of their neck or their arms. And, I feel very repetitive in that. And I've repeated myself enough that I think I should probably put this into a book so that people can access it later. Like after somebody gets a massage, they kind of have this massage brain where they're a bit
Mm,
almost high on a massage. And, I don't want to confuse them too much. And so Office Needs came together as a resource for people to access. And it's not like you have to read it from the front to back. You just kind of find where your problems are and you just find the quick tips and solutions there.
I love
And
that,
at
Giada.
first it was just, thank you. At first it was just going to be like a promotional gift, but now I kind of have the goal
Mm.
to have it on every desk in the corporate world. So,
And you know what? I
yeah.
think that's a great goal because wellness in the workplace. It's not just a buzzword, definitely it has grown, but I think like office culture and everything, there's so much more focus on it, more over the past 2 years, and it's definitely something that's growing because, as you say yourself, a lot of people are sitting at desks and are having the same issues. I know myself, if I'm ever sitting at my desk too long, I'll get my shoulder will start at me because I'm not following the right posture. And what a lovely resource to have that you can just pick up this book. And like you say, I think a book like that is great that you don't have to feel as though you need to read it from beginning to end. You pick it up as on a need to know basis and read whatever section is good for you. But of course, you could read it from front to back as well.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you did, then you'd know a lot more about taking care of yourself. I tell you
Yeah.
that much. Well, so, um, I've told plenty of people about the book over the process, and they said, well, would you create, online videos?
Mm,
And so that's where it's just like, okay, I can take this another step further. Maybe some people don't want to read. Maybe some people just want to go to an online platform where they can click on the video and they get an in-depth instruction on how to do the stretch. And so that's kind of my next step with it too, is creating this online version of the book. Uh,
yeah.
and that's what I'm working on next.
And I think that's wonderful. I think that the combination of both for sure, because we're all so different the way we learn. Some people,
Mm,
I personally love to listen and watch more so than reading. I love
yep,
podcasts for that reason, where you can be listening to something as you're doing something else. Now I know we're told sometimes that that's not the best, but it's okay when you're making the dinner to be listening to something nice and inspiring. So I think it's great
exactly.
to
Yeah.
cover both, and I think especially when you're talking about stretches. sometimes if you're a kind of a person that needs to see it, I think the video is going to be great for people like that, so that they actually don't injure themselves more, and you can show them exactly what they're supposed to be doing.
Exactly. Yeah. So like, yeah, that's the one part with the book, is that I go into as much detail as I can without there actually being, a moving person in it. You can, right? So I have like the images to break down the movements. So hopefully, if the person is reading it and paying close enough attention, they will do it correctly. And I don't think anything in there is something that's going to hurt you ultimately. Um, but
Sure.
yeah, the resource will kind of help in that regard.
Yeah, sure. And I suppose I was kind of talking about something that will never happen anyway. But yeah, as I
Yeah,
say, it is. I think that the video will be a great addition. I think it's lovely, and fair play to you. You know,
thank you.
what I suppose I'd like to ask you about in your work throughout the years of going around, what are the main, I know you mentioned carpal tunnel, but like, can you give us a kind of an idea as to the sort of individual cases that you see that are quite similar that people should watch out for, even a few tips for people that are now working from home?
Absolutely. Yep. I find most of the issues boil down to posture. People just don't pay attention to, yeah, let's just sit up. Uh, People don't really pay attention to their posture when they're working. And unfortunately for posture, it is something that you have to work on actively. It will be something that just kind of worsens over time if you're not paying attention to it. And so, for instance, a lot of office workers, a lot of people in general, have a lot of tension in kind of like their upper neck, shoulder, or the upper back, neck, shoulders area. Like you were explaining how your shoulder bothers
Mm,
you. A lot of that is from always looking down and forward. You know how we're all kind of always looking at our phones, laptops, even if it's not at our proper height for our eye line, we're looking down and forward, which means that over time, the muscles in the front of your neck are shortening. And when that happens, it pulls your head forward and strains the back of your neck.
wow,
So, what I teach people is to actually stretch the front of their neck, which will balance out their posture and neutralize the tension in their shoulders. So, that's just one example that pretty much every single person I ever interact with has this issue.
that's very interesting. Oh
Another
my goodness, when you talk about that, like it is quite serious, because I know when I'm working too much, and it's for
Mhm.
me, it's always the right hand side. Do you find that I suppose maybe I'm right hand dominant, but do you? I think I might have a little bit more off on the right hand anyway. Is that something that you see with people, that they may suffer more on one side of the body than the other?
Yeah, and it's pretty much always their dominant side that struggles. Um, Unless they have an activity or a job that they do that is one-sided and they end up developing a repetitive strain in some way.
Mm.
So people who, let's say, are on the phone all the time, and if they don't have a headset, they're kind of doing this on the phone,
Yeah.
then eventually they'll have an imbalance in their neck muscles. What else can I think of? People who are working in the factories, that they are doing the same repetitive movements over and over and over again. Eventually, they'll develop strain on those muscles that they're using constantly.
We don't really think about
And
that,
then
do
another one.
sorry.
No,
We
no,
don't
no,
really
no.
think about
You don't.
like, well, I don't anyway. I would definitely be aware of my back, because I would have a bit of a back issue, but I never think about the muscles in my neck actually when you talk about that and going sideways, and it's just, now I don't really be on my phone that much. I suppose I'd have it on speak, but if you could imagine yourself like that and maybe trying to type at the same time, yeah,
Yep.
and the muscles
Exactly.
being affected, yeah.
hmm Another thing that a lot of people struggle with is low back pain,
Mm,
and they think the issue is in their low back, but sometimes it's so far from the truth. It's actually the opposite side of them. It's the front of their legs, like the front of their thighs that are tight, their hip flexors, and that's from being in a seated position all the time. On my campaign, the picture is a part of the book called "Life in the Fetal Position,"
oh yeah.
and it's a story about low back pain. And a lot of people live in this kind of fetal position, from sleeping on their side to sitting in their car to sitting at work or in front of the TV or at the dinner table. You're always in that seated position. And so your hip flexors become shortened over time. Same with the front of your neck muscles, the front of your hips do the same thing, where they develop or they become shorter. And so then when you stand up, the way that they act as a pulley system on your hips, they put the pelvis in an imbalance and create a spasm in the low back.
Wow.
So kind of
Yeah.
hard to visualize maybe right now,
No, I think it's
but
actually, I've never heard anyone describe it so well.
mm,
I think that's fascinating because I know when I started to do Pilates, I've heard talk of the hip flexors before, and my hip flexors were shaking. You know,
yeah,
they were like literally, yeah, you know what I mean. And I
I
do,
do know what you mean. Yeah.
yeah, and I know so when you mentioned the hip flexors, I get that, and I do get the fact that it would manifest for me in my lower back as well. So that's another thing to it's great information. So you have a lot really. And you talk about this in the book, I guess.
I do, yeah, in depth. I talk about the conditions that can come from it. So, like for the neck muscles, I talk about thoracic outlet syndrome, and I explain that in depth. For the hip flexors, I explain lower cross syndrome and how that manifests and what you can do for it. These sound very technical, but it's just a way of describing a concept
Sure,
of muscle imbalance. Yeah.
I love it.
So.
So how can people get their hands on this wonderful book, Giada?
So I have the illustrator sending me one or two more images, and then it's going into the editor. I plan to have it ready for September, end of
Wonderful.
August ideally, so that for September it's ready. Um, and online kind of version of it, I plan to get going in the next few weeks. That's why I launched the Kickstarter campaign that I have, because so far I've been paying for everything out of my own pocket, and that's been well and good. But given the circumstances of what's happened lately,
Yeah,
I'm starting to feel, a bit concerned. And so I thought maybe if I reach out for a bit of help, people will help me get this project going a lot faster. And when I can get the funding, I plan to have this course out by latest December. And so
phenomenal.
the book by September, course by December, hopefully before that.
Great. So what sort of packages have you got for people if they want to go into your Kickstarter campaign? What sort of little treats have you got for people?
So it starts with complete access to the online course right out the gate. So if you donate €15, you get complete access to that online course. If you donate 20, you get the online course plus the ebook. I think €50 is those two things plus the actual physical book sent to your address. Then it kind of scales up from there and includes things from a personalized message and signed copy of the book sent to you, to a free consultation with myself. There's when people get up there in the higher numbers, they will get credit in the book, and in the online course there will be a mention of their help.
Very
What
good.
else? You will get your own caricature in the style of the book. My illustrator has agreed to do caricatures of people who donate generously.
Very good.
What else? There's a few other things I know for sure there is. I just can't think of them off the top
Oh,
of my
that's
head
okay. I
right
think you've given
now.
us a great taste there, and I think it was, for someone when we are able to go back. Are you actually working? When do you foresee yourself going back into corporate world, or have you started again, or as we go to as the interview's been recorded, should I say we're in July, early July now. So do you see a light at the end of the tunnel?
I'm hoping September 1st. I kind of want people to have their summer, and there's no pressure. But I think when September hits and we're getting into the colder months, that people are, ready to get back to work and go
Yeah.
into full swing. So, we're definitely ready to start now if we would be allowed to.
Okay.
But I foresee September.
Okay, good. Good to know. I think because I think the combination there again, adding on another resource where somebody gets the book, they might read the online course, and then they think, oh, I really would love to see. Because as a therapist myself, I know, like I have if people want to do EFT, they can go on and they can, learn it free or whatever. But I think sometimes people want the personal touch as well. So it's lovely to be able to have that as well. That people can know that they can actually book a session with you or bring you
Yep.
into the corporate world, bring you in for a well-being day, speaking about your book or something like that? Is that all something that,
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, hopefully, I mean, not even hopefully, my plan is to create a workshop around the content of the book so that I can go into corporates and I can sit in a room with a group of people and get to know what their individual aches and pains are and actually target what their aches and pains are instead of just brushing over the information that may or may not relate to them. I would ask them, like, what is it that you're struggling with? Okay, let's work on that. So it's actually real-time workplace benefit.
well, I wish you the best of success. That it sounds phenomenal, Jada. It really does, and I'm very happy to help you get the word out there because it sounds like it is a brilliant resource, and I think it's brilliant that people can either, because so many people are now working from home, it's something that we can adapt to our home life. It doesn't have to be a corporate. I work from home,
Exactly.
like me sitting at the
Yeah.
computer. I can take tips from this as well and get the book and get the course and learn from it. Uh, no more than
Yeah.
somebody that is actually in their office. So it's for anyone really that's sitting at a computer, or as you say, even maybe someone that's it's not even working, maybe someone that's just on the phone too much, or need to look at their overall health.
Absolutely, yes. I do want to create other books like it in the same vein, but like, self-care solutions at home, which would look a bit different, just because people can have a bit more space and freedom at home to do
Sure.
the different things. I'd also like to create one called Self-Care Solutions for Kids or Self-Care Solutions with Kids, depending on how we spin it. Another one would be self-care solutions with superfoods, and just teaching people on how to use the
Fantastic.
natural products around them, that they don't have to go and use, pharmaceuticals to take care of their problems. They don't have to just sit there and suffer. They actually have the tools very close to them. And so, yes.
Well, we'll
Um,
have to have you back on to talk about each of those as they come out.
Yeah, that would be wonderful. But you're absolutely right that, it doesn't have to be at the office. When I say self-care solutions at work, it's just when you're working. Doesn't matter where you're working. Even if you're sitting in your car all day, if you're a taxi
Mm,
driver, let's say, you're at work. So if you just have
absolutely.
the resource in your, under your seat or something, right? And then when you're sitting at a red light, you can have a have a look through and give a bit of a stretch.
Phenomenal. Well, as I say, good luck with it. I will put the link so that people can go and look it up and purchase in advance the book and the course or whatever people are want to do. And we definitely will maybe come back and have a little chat about it when your course is online again and just see how you're getting on and all that. And how does that sound with you?
That'd be brilliant. Yeah. Thank you, Dolores.
Thank you so much for coming on and telling us about it.
Of course. Anytime.
See you soon.